Hey, hey, and we're back. Sorry about that. Can't imagine what happened there. Gremlins in the system, it would appear. But I think we're back. I was enjoying that.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, look at this. Sorry about that. I think that was me.
All right. I was
I
going
don't
to
know
say, I
why.
know internet Randy has been a bit dodgy, so I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I had a few problems. We're back, kids, with Connor from Deadknight Photography. If you're all sticking around, if you went away, came back, I don't know how this works. Hopefully you're back. Hopefully you're enjoying it. There's plenty more to come. Right. Um, I'm going to assume you're all paying attention. You're all going to go back and watch the first half hour of in Reels or something. Anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do about that, but I'll jump off that bridge when I come to it. So, uh, let's move on slightly. Let's get to know Connor a little bit more personally. We've spoke a lot about photography, art, inspiration. Let's dig a little deeper. I did this the other week and I quite enjoyed it, so I'm going to do it to you, which again sounds dirty. Oh, I've got to stop. I'm going to get. But you have to be known first to get cancelled, right? So I can say what the fuck I
Yeah,
like.
I'm sure that's how it works.
Hey, some people, we're back. Hey, kids, welcome back. That was my fault. Well, not my fault. That was my internet provider's fault, who I won't name because they're usually really, really good. But things do seem to have been a bit dodgy in this area recently. So we're going to play a little bit of this or that. I'm just going to throw a couple of things at you. We can make it as sort of quick fire as you like. There's obviously no right or wrong answers, or we can dig a little deeper. Depends what answer you give. You know, but it's really simple. You know, like cats or dogs.
Dogs.
Dogs. And again, the second dogs in a row. Say we're on the internet, which is nothing but cats. Cute cat videos.
I do like cats, but they're a bit unpredictable.
If they ever get thumbs, we're all fucked, man.
Yeah, we really are.
Cats rule the earth. That's all they need. That final evolutionary step, and we're doomed. We've been also. To be fair, you know, you're not the only dog man. I'm partial to a dog myself, but we should get with the ancient Egyptians and maybe start worshipping the fuckers now, just in case. They were onto something. You know, that's what wiped them out. You know, it was the highly evolved cats that wiped out the ancient Egyptian civilization, created space travel, and are now off in the far-flung corners of the
So
universe.
all in the hieroglyphs.
Yeah, just look at the pyramids from an aerial shot, kids. It's like a runway for spacecraft. Anyway, it really is though. So cats or dogs, beer or wine?
Yeah.
Oh, another quick answer. So pizza
Hobgoblin,
or kebab?
my favourite, if that helps.
But other brands of beer are
Yeah.
available. I don't think I have to say shit like that either at this point in my career. Um, but so pizza or kebab?
Pizza, definitely.
Pizza guy. Chicken on pizza?
Chicken on pizza, perfectly fine.
Yeah, I don't think controversial. Pineapple.
Yeah,
Where do you stand on the pineapple situation?
I was waiting for that one. I love a pineapple on pizza.
Is there anything? Is there what is a no? Is there a no? Is that the whole point in pizza? Really, I think is anything goes. Really.
I mean, there's probably a no, but I haven't tried it yet.
Well,
Like, there's a lot of things I see online, and I'm just like, I'd still try it. It's like, I'm a man who doesn't turn his nose up at food until I've tried it, kind of thing. So,
food is fuel. Um, but if you're going to drink, so money's no object. City living or country retreat?
I can't deal with that many people and noise in a city. I can't do it.
Here's the thing. Everybody says that, and I'm like, but we're all moving to the country, which will kind of by proxy make it a city.
Well,
We're all going to be, because that's where we all want to be. There's just not enough country to have like 20 miles around us before your nearest neighbour. So that's why we all. Another reason to invent space travel, we can all have our own planet. Just Planet Connor is probably what we all want. But we'll not be isolated. We'll have like 20G at that point, and have perfect communication that doesn't cut out in the middle of a great conversation. Upcoming photography artist, Deadknight Photography, Night with a K, like the heroes of yore. So, punk or metal?
Probably metal. I do like. I'm very fluent with my music. I do like a lot of different genres, but then again, I don't like anything that's so screamy that you can't understand what they're saying.
I mean, music's very much a mood thing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to call that. I think it's you're not that angry all the time. You're not that sad all the time. You need the right music.
I mean, I'm very big on lyrics more than anything. I just love a song with good lyrics. As I can understand them and the lyrics speak to you.
Because it's a powerful thing. I mean, all artists, it moves you. But music, I think, in particular, can be it puts you in a particular frame of mind, emotional state, which means you can either use it to sort of enhance the state you might be in if you're wanting to feel a bit more of that feeling. You can use it to try and change it, maybe pull you out of a place you don't want to be. It's fantastic, which is why I always wanted to do it, because it certainly had that effect on me, but just wasn't good enough to do that. So I do this instead and try and pimp out other people to make fantastic albums for someone else, album covers for someone else one day. Not me. Never doing it again. Never. My it's over. It's over now. I found my niche. I can talk shit for hours on end, which I've known for decades, and I just never thought it was a thing I could kind of do.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I think that's something everyone's starting to realise, because everyone seems to have a podcast now, and things like that. Everyone's just realising that you can get by just by talking for hours.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that almost like put me off doing this is, well, everybody does this, but somehow I feel like I want to do this. Somehow I feel like I had to do this. I feel the difference if I'm gonna blow my own trumpet a little bit. I mean, very early days. This is episode 5, so this is like early in my experimentation with this medium. But I'm here to big up Connor and whoever's on next week and next week and next week. Hopefully, I can keep finding people willing to do this. I'm not here for me. I'm not selling me. I mean, I hope you find some of the things I say interesting or humorous or whatever, just to keep it rolling. But first and foremost, I am here to get you to go to Deadknight Photography, Night with a K, like the heroes of yore, and hopefully see something you like, follow, and get a lot more things that you like in your newsfeed, and brighten your day and go, oh, look at that. It's like a Funko, but it's on fire, or in a waterfall, or in space, or wherever it might be, or something, and be just like amazed at how that can even be a thing. It can be a thing because there are people, human beings, with that somehow see that where we don't see that and make it happen for us. And we need that. We really do. That's why I'm here. So if you're out there and you're watching live or later, and if you want to be down there, not beneath me in any other way, and that sounds dirty as well. Oh my god! But if you want to be on the show, and if you want to plug your shit, because I am here to sell your shit, I will pimp you out. If you want to be this guy, just hit me up, give me a shout, send me a message. Don't be shy. Come and be this guy. It's fun. You're having fun, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I may not look like it, but that's just fate I was born with.
We're doing a bit of the this or that. Let's do a few more for the people who've come back. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars. I never really got into Star Trek, and I don't know why. It's got everything that I love, but just never hit with me. So
Star Wars. See, yeah, I'm a Star Wars guy. I'm a Star Wars guy. That doesn't mean I don't like Star Trek. It just means I like Star Wars more, and I don't even know why. Like you said, Star Trek offers me all the things that I want, so I casually dabble in it. Currently, there's just so much fucking Star Trek. Like there's huge spin-off or alternate reality or whatever series that seems to be out every week. It's too much. I haven't got that many hours in a day. I have to prioritize something. And there's still Star Wars stuff, which if I'm brutally honest, my hot take, I'm not particularly enjoying it all that much at the minute. But I am bound by the laws of me to keep watching because it's Star Wars. Between that and all the superhero shit we've had going on for a few years, I just don't have time for Star Trek. Some rainy day, or heaven forbid, we get another pandemic or something, and I'll catch up. But it might actually, there's so much of it, it might actually take a pandemic to get me to have any chance to catch up with what Star Trek's doing.
yeah.
But if they get back to the big screen, I'll probably go check that out. I believe
I was going to say, I think one thing with me is I prefer movies over TV series. Like, it takes a lot for me to get into a TV series. So with Star Trek, like, there's plenty in it that I'd love, but it's getting to that point because there's also all the other shit in between that I'm just not going to be interested in. So I've seen all the Star Trek movies, like, they go down again.
Oh, no, back.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah. As I was saying, I borrowed all the Star Trek movies off one of my then girlfriend at the time. Her dad had them all, so I borrowed them all off him and watched all the films. But I just never got into the series of Star Trek. So
I don't know how much attention you paid, how familiar you were watching those movies. I know it's a thing that people say. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think it. I'm saying and I'm trying to think and I'm trying to speak at the same time, which is like standard human behavior, but yet I'm struggling. Because there's a thing where people say every odd numbered Star Trek movie is shit.
couldn't remember. Couldn't
Yeah,
remember.
Okay, so there's the motion picture. Maybe it's not aged well. I don't know if it's shit, but I don't know if I could recommend that first movie to a younger audience necessarily. I'm trying to play them through in my head, but now fuck that. Anyway, anyway, so let's go with the real hot topics. Let's get dirty. Let's go Marvel or DC. Let's take the gloves off and go for the big boys.
DC, but not films, especially recently. Characters wise, I have always preferred DC. Green Arrow being one of my biggest favorites, but I never do the whole comparison thing.
Oh no. I mean, most people like everything. We all have a preference.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say I'm a Marvel guy, but there's a ton of DC stuff that I love, and there's a ton that I like, and there's some that I'm not so hot with. But saying I do like both. But if you have to pin my colours to the mast, then, and until Wolverine's driving a Batmobile, make my Marvel is the thing that you say. So, let's think of another one. I should have written these down. I did write these down, and I've no idea where I put the fucking paper. But so we are here. Myself, Connor, Snikt, Deadknight Photography. We are here both in many ways, on many levels. Our art, our reason for being online somewhat, our part of the inspiration and motivation that literally gets us to this point would be a man we've mentioned a couple times already today. I was just about to say a fat man, but he's not anymore.
Not anymore now.
Not anymore. This is going to get really niche now. If the words Kevin Smith mean nothing to you, by all means, tune out. Because we're going to talk amongst ourselves for a while, because this year marks the 30th anniversary of a film you may or may not know, hopefully you know, called Clerks. 1994, January, the end of January 1994, it won the big prize at the Sundance Film Festival, was theatrically released a few months later. I think it's like an October release, maybe. I could be wrong. I'll have to look that up. But it was made and it was out there and it was known and it was causing a stir and obviously got bought by Miramax, and the rest is history. Was Clerks, which gave birth to what we now call the View Askew universe, and the characters of Jay and Silent Bob, and many more. And we love that shit, right?
Absolutely. It is some of the funniest, some of the most clever, even though he, in his live shows, whenever people talk about that, he never admits it. But it is some of the most clever work that I've ever seen on film. Just the simplicity of certain scenes, the bizarreness of other scenes. It's just, it's something, especially Clerks, his first film. It's something that anyone could have made, but the way Kevin did it, as we spoke earlier, it's the way Kevin did it. It just really something special, and it just, obviously he had to change the ending of Clerks, because his original ending had one of the characters die, and they wanted him to make more films, so they were like, you can't kill this character. So it's just the way he wrote it and the way he brought it all to life, and it just became an absolute cult classic, and it made him who he is today.
And if you're out there, if you're listening, if you're watching this, and you haven't seen this film, you really probably fucking should. And if you don't want to take our word for it, what's wrong with us? We're fucking amazingly beautiful, intelligent, artistic individuals. But many people whose names and work you will know are also hugely inspired by specifically this movie. Kevin Smith in general, but very specifically this movie, was a movie that a lot of kids came through film school, saw this film, and it was their inspiration to go to film school, and now they make major motion pictures on a level that Kevin doesn't make. So it's don't just take our word for it. Have a little Google, look it up, and you'll find a very inspirational character. The landscape of Hollywood, as you know it, would not be quite the same right now. Some of the younger, cooler filmmakers now, they exist because of this. Sadly, that's not us. We take pictures of Pokemon and talk shit on Instagram to people who take pictures of Pokemon. But there may have been times where we dreamed of being a part of something like this. So we're here to celebrate Clerks, but the whole of the Askew universe. What was your first Kevin Smith movie? Was it Clerks or?
It was Clerks. My dad showed it me when I was way too young to understand what it was about.
Yeah.
And then it was one of those where I kind of picked it up again at a time when I did understand what it was all about, and especially because pretty much the only jobs I've had before this were retail, and you always have that one friend so that you become like the Dante and Randall and just talk it all day and things like that, and it's the one person that you enjoy working with. So it's getting back to Clerks. I think the one film I remembered more than Clerks that my dad showed me when I was younger was Dogma. The whole Angel Wings, Alan Rickman,
Alan
and
Rickman.
it's just absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I went back and found out who directed this film that I saw ages ago that was in black and white when every other film was in color. And I ended up just watching his entire catalogue, and I was like, these are the greatest films of my life.
Yeah, I think that those of us are like, it's one of those things. It speaks to you or it doesn't. You either kind of sit there zombified going, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And I've done this with people. You try and recommend it. I don't know, you try showing friends, they're not friends anymore. Fuck them. They don't like Kevin Smith. Fuck them. And I've tried, and they just go, they're like, and you like this? I'm like, yes, very, very much, thanks. Or they fall in love with it.
Yeah.
It's one of the things. But for me, my first movie was Mallrats. The first movie I saw, I was aware of Clerks. I'd heard of it, the buzz kind of around it, the industry sort of buzz around it. That is some cool new thing, but I think I actually missed actually seeing it. The first film I saw all the way through was Mallrats, so I wasn't too far behind. I'd heard of one, and then I joined the dots. And I had to go that one step backwards, and then I was in. Uh, all the way in, elbow deep into the world of Kevin Smith, and haven't stopped. I mean,
Yeah.
the guy. I don't know what it's like in your house, but the guy practically lives with us. I mean, if I'm not watching a movie, I'm watching an interview on YouTube, or I'm watching Babylon, or I'm watching Fat Man Beyond, or I'm watching, or I'm listening, and everything around it, or I'm listening to the Ralph Report, or you know, he's here in the living room.
And if you're not doing any of that, you're quoting him.
Like, if, if it's not this voice, it's that voice that's
Yeah.
speaking at any given time. If you just dropped into this house, it'll either be my voice or his, that you're probably going to hear. It's possibly a bit sad and maybe a little creepy. But it just seems to be always interesting and inspiring somewhat, or just sweet, or it never seems to get old. It always interests
No.
me. Not the movie making, and just for when someone has the luxury, which I would love to do at some point, to get to put him down there and just have a conversation with the guy. Always him. He repeats a lot of the same stories as we all do, as I have done this very evening. But yeah, big fan, big fan.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things where like especially if you're nerdy, you're into your pop culture things, your Star Wars and even your older things like He-Man and things like that. You watch this film and it's literally just like watching the same conversations that you and your friends have, or like me and my friends have. It's just such a feel good sort of universe of films where
I'm going to assume the thing you've got two fans together. There's almost no point having the discussion because he's probably know what answers he's going to give, the same ones that I give. It's kind of somewhat irrelevant. But I'm going to guess then a big criticism, particularly of some of the early works, is when people go, "Who talks like that?"
yeah.
And I'm like, I do. I
Yeah.
never had that. Again, when I've shown it to people, they're like, "That's not what two young adults in their early 20s, working in a convenience store or whatever. People don't talk like that." Like, yes, we do. We actually do. I mean, not yeah, it does have a stylized way of writing, similar to Tarantino. You know a Tarantino film without seeing any credits. You can drop into any Tarantino movie and know it's a Tarantino movie.
Yeah.
The same goes for Kevin Smith. It is stylized, yes, but when watching these movies, when hearing these characters speak, obviously the way they speak and the subject matter they're speaking of, I was like, yeah, that's us. That what this someone is finally doing it. I'm seeing. There's a lot of talk of representation in movies in Hollywood. We need more female characters. We need more ethnicities. We need more of this, and all true. Yes, we do. And that was a thing still to this day, but certainly during that real up period, that kind of mid 90s, early 2000s, from Clerks through Mallrats, Chasing Amy, and Dogma. I was that's how I felt. I was represented by
Yeah.
these movies. I was like, we've been saying that this whole fucking time. I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
And in that way,
The
it's not like
conversation
I'm
in
seeing myself.
Mallrats. Yeah, the conversation in Mallrats with Brody and TS, where Brody's like, Lois Lane could never have Superman's baby, blows a load like a shotgun throwback kind of thing. I was like, yeah, that's basically how me and my mates talk about shit like that. It's not, it's a fictional comic book character, but you have those kind of conversations because it's just, something that's to talk about, something interesting, and like you have those scenarios where it's like, if it was real though, it doesn't matter whether it's real now. If it was real, Lois Lane could never have Superman's baby.
It makes the films, and they still do feel they have very grounded and real to me. I know it's a big criticism. Who speaks like that? And I'm like, I speak like that, and I just definitely it's not. I don't speak like that because of watching the films. I already did. I already spoke like that, dressed like that, still do. And it was finally represent one of the few areas in Hollywood, not so much Hollywood, indie film. Unfortunately, a few kind of forays into somewhat Hollywood territory, but mainly indie film. But it's the one place where I feel like I'm watching a movie and I'm in it as close as I get. I get it. A certain percentage of our wonderful, beautiful population that were finally like, Black Panther, yes, look, and you've got to show your kids this because look, that's us. That's I get it. I get it because that's what I saw. I see Brody in particular, Randall and Brody. They're my guys. I feel like always feel like I'm some kind of combination uh, of Randall and Brody. His mates is me. It means nothing to people who don't fucking know who they are. Well, that's like the terrible fucking. I'll put that on my dating profile. That'll go well, right? Describe yourself. I'm kind of half Randall Graves, half Brody. To be fair, the woman that like fucking matches me based on that's the keeper, But I've had very unlikely to find one.
Yeah,
So
I think I'm the type of person that likes to think there'd be more Randall or Brody, but is actually definitely more Dante. you know.
okay. The world needs its Dantes. There's nothing wrong with Dante. Dante's a cool guy.
Like I said, especially working in retail, and it's once if you start in retail, you're sort of like, okay, this is happening. But then as you progress in retail, you're there for a few years. You're like, oh, these fucking milkmaids that are digging out every carton of milk in the fridge. I'm like, just fucking pick up a milk, just take it to the counter, go buy it.
Again, because that's real.
Yeah,
That's real. That
exactly.
fucking happens. I've seen that. I am very closely related to a milkmaid, so I have seen that on the regular. Just to clarify, if anybody's a bit confused, a milkmaid. This is the person going through all the bottles of milk in the fridge in the supermarket or store, expecting to find one with like some infinite expiry date hidden at the back. I mean, it's right. You should never just buy the first thing from the front of the shelf. if it's something, fresh that has a date on it. Yes, look through a couple, try and find a longer date. That's just common sense. But these fuckers seem to go through the whole fridge or shelf or whatever, looking for some mysterious, infinite, never-ending bottle of milk. It happens with other products as well, but milk is a big one. And so now I hope there's a bunch of people going, shit, I do that. But to see that in a film, in a movie, all the things you don't see, aliens, superheroes, it's amazing, it's fantasy. It's crazy how to see something so mundane and normal, but you don't see it in movies. That's not the shit you put in a movie. And so that somebody did that, and you go, oh yeah, I mean, that's the greatest thing about the greatest stand-up comedians. They don't tell jokes. It's just stories about things that really happened. They're the ones, and that's what makes you laugh the most, because you relate to it, you understand it, you've seen it. The guy sat next to you does it. Your date that you've taken, you do that. He's talking about you. He's taking the piss out of you. He's talking about you. That was insane. That was insane. We're back. So, and that's the thing. It happens a lot rarer, I think, in movies. Certainly a few filmmakers. I think I'm going to throw Tarantino out again, and Kevin Smith, but they do that. They tell stories. Pretty much every Kevin Smith film, again, for anybody unfamiliar, is somewhat semi-autobiographical. Wouldn't you? I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. So
there's just a ton of shit. Whatever the overarching story might be with the characters, some are more. Clerks is just a very grounded. It's literally like an hour and a half of two dudes, and they're very much just the daily grind of life and how they cope with it and how they get through it, and their bond and their interactions with, how, again, you can tell me I've not done retail, but it makes sense to me. So you can clarify, you can give 100% behind it. The whole, it would be a great job if it wasn't for all the fucking customers.
Yeah,
that's a very
that has been my life quote throughout my entire work life. Like I say, whenever you go into a job, you always have that one person that is more of a friend than a colleague. So you've always got someone that you prefer working with. And again, it would be great if you could just go to work, talk to them, do whatever you're doing, and just not be annoyed by customers. Just not be interrupted. It would be great. But yeah.
My dream, right? While I spent many years of my life trying to become a rock star, actually, my childhood dream, and even during some periods of attempted rock stardom, my real dream, I wanted to work in a video shop. A video shop, kids, is like iTunes. It's like an app store in real life. You have to get off your ass, go outside. It's like the supermarket, but it only has movies that you can buy or pay money to take it home for a weekend or a week, and then you have to bring it back. So kind of like
and make sure you rewind it.
Poor man's Netflix. But because I just thought that was my local video store was an independent guy, not a chain, not a Blockbuster, or anything. It was just a guy, and I just thought. So he stands there. He had a TV on brackets up on the wall, and he stands there watching movies, and he has access to all the latest movies before the rest of us, and he has access to all the posters that come with that, right? And he comes to work and he stands there and he starts watching a film, and he pauses it every now and again to serve someone and talk about movies, to receive the movie and ask them if they liked it, and and talk about it, maybe recommend, oh, if you like that, you'll probably like this, and so talked about movies, then they leave, and he goes back to watching the film until somebody else comes in, and then just talks about films to that guy if they have, and he gets fucking paid for it.
Yeah.
And I just looked at that growing up, going in, renting my films, and I just thought that's like the highest possible deified form of existence. You know, if you be a good boy and you live a good life and you get reincarnated, and if each time you live a good life you come back as something better, eventually you get to be a video store owner. You know, because I wouldn't mind working there, but actually it being mine, being the manager, owning it, running it, I would have liked it to be mine. Johnny's fucking movies or whatever. I just thought that just you can't get much better than that. That just seemed like that's living. That would be that guy's
Yeah.
God in my world, and I wanted to, and it wouldn't have been that hard to achieve. I mean, I'd have been screwed over by time, technology, and progress eventually, but like for a time, so it wouldn't have been that hard to achieve had I not got sidetracked with some insane notion of being in a band. Maybe I should have stuck with the original dream, because now not doing the band thing, not doing the video store thing, having all my dreams crushed. It's like, oh, what do I do? Now it's like now I have my midlife crisis, having worn the leather trousers, having been having sort of been the rock star. When you've done, I've got some crazy rock and roll stories I could tell one day, even from my somewhat only semi-professional career. I've seen some shit. I really have. Um, when you've done all that, when you've I've had the tattoos, I've worn the leather trousers, I've seen people piss sideways. One day I'll talk about that. I've seen a man piss at, not stand side, but literally at a right angle, and it comes out that way. Which there's Yeah, I mean, people just work in retail their whole lives probably have no stories like that to tell. They have some other insane stories to tell, no doubt, but I'm sure every walk of life does. But I've seen some shit anyway. So, is it rude? Is it like having to pick a favorite child to ask if you have a favorite Kevin Smith movie? Is it even possible?
It kind of is, but I think again everyone does have the favourites. I think Mallrats was definitely my favourite. It definitely resonated with me the most. Clerks 3 is slowly creeping up there, but that's because I recently lost a friend to a heart attack, not last year, year before. My best mate of 15 years, so it's
Oh,
to watch that one
that must
now. So,
hit hard.
yeah,
Oh,
I watched the film when it came to cinemas for its limited run, and I was like, "Oh, this film's great." You know, it still made me cry then, and I was like, "Because you've grown up with these characters, kind of thing." And then, literally, I was trying to get to the point where I could meet up with my friend again and show him the film, and then he passed away with a heart attack. I was like, "I don't think I'll be watching this film again for a while." So it's been really hard, but it is. I have watched it a couple of times since then, and it does really hit home. Like it's one of sort of Kevin Smith's more films that tugs on the heartstrings a lot more. So
it's a film. I know as we said, every artist should be your own biggest fan, and he certainly is. Kevin Smith certainly is the biggest Kevin Smith fan, as he says over and over again, and he's not wrong. But that's the film, because he is, at least appears to, having never met the guy, but he appears to be so fucking humble. He spends most of his time saying everybody else is better than me. Just thanks for watching. So but by the time you get to Clerks 3, Clerks 1, this is 1994. Clerks 3, this is what was it, a couple of years ago now?
2022, I think.
Yeah. So this is a man who is, as we've said for any artist, still learning, still honing a craft, still putting something new in that he couldn't, not just didn't do, but couldn't do in previous movies. And this is a film that you almost want to sit him down and make him watch it and go, see, this is how fucking good you can be.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be funny. Yeah, you can be insightful. Yes, you have a certain generational niche that appeals to people of a relatively similar age group or whatever. But this is the way you can go universal and speak to anyone, and anyone can feel that, and that can hit them, and that can mean something. Like, you are capable of that. Not that I'm against making another Dick and Fart joke movie at all, because you're very, very good at that too. But just to be like, just fucking, you might be your own biggest fan, but you're not big enough a fan.
Yeah. I think it's one of those again though where like at the end of the day he's staying true to himself. He's directed TV episodes and things like that. He's done work for other people and not just his own. But at the end of the day, he comes back to his own work and it's still true to his previous work. He's not diverted to something that's, way out of what Kevin Smith is. It's something that's still very much Jay and Silent Bob Reboot, for example. It's still got that heartfelt story, but it's still Jay and Silent Bob and it's still hilarious. And, it's got all the Dick and Fart jokes, and then it's still got that story about being a father and things like that. So it's like I say, he just relates his films to himself. It's all comes back to his life experiences, and that's what makes them so good, because they're so grounded in reality, even with the bizarre situations that they find themselves in, such as closing the store to play hockey on the roof, or having a dead guy in the bathroom that's his girlfriend, folks, things like that. So there's things in there that are like, this is the movie side of it, but underneath that there's this whole story that's grounded in reality, and that's what makes it so relatable, and that's what makes them so great to watch.
Yeah. So kids, you were warned that this could get a bit niche and it might tune out, but hopefully something you might take from this is by myself and Connor talking about this Kevin Smith guy. Actually, that's Kevin Smith.
Kevin Smith.
Talking about that Kevin Smith guy, but it hits home with us for the same reasons it hit home with you. You might not like the music, you might not like the movies in any way, you might not have heard of them, you might not be that bothered about looking it up, but it's going to make us talk in a about the bigger questions, the deeper motivations, and the inspirations which just apply to just art in general. If that's something you're into, certainly if that's something you produce, whatever your chosen medium might be, I think some of the shit that we're going to say by picking apart something niche is still going to universally apply to you and your heavy metal band or whatever it is that you do when you're not watching this. So yeah, again, to continue talking about things that some people may not even know. So do you have a favorite? Is there a particular character do you like? Not that we kind of touched on characters we think we kind of would be. Just one that's the most fun, the one that you enjoy, the one you like, the one you like to see.
I mean, any of Jason Lee's characters in the films, they're just absolutely brilliant. I mean, Jason Lee is an actor altogether. He's just absolutely brilliant.
I mean, for a guy that's not an actor, the guy, he's a professional skateboarder. Well, he was. Now he's a photographer.
I was about to say, as a photographer as well.
So, I fell in love with the guy. Mallrats was the first Kevin Smith film that I saw. Mallrats with a big starring role for not an actor. It's one thing, Kevin Smith, what he does is put a lot of his friends and family into movies. But then this movie, he casts a genuine, young, up-and-coming actor in Jason London, and a guy who's not even an actor and expects them to be the leads. I mean, when you think that people, this is how fucking good Clerks was, that people gave him money to do that.
Yeah.
That very much actually, yeah, we trust you enough to do that and cast not just unknowns, but like he's not even a fucking actor. He's a skateboarder. But he's so good. I fell in love with him, and just wanted to see anything else that he did, Kevin Smith or otherwise. This guy, Jason Lee, if it's kind of vaguely ringing a bell, you might know him as Earl. You might know his name is Earl. The sitcom ran for about five or six seasons, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
He got out that. Yeah, the guy, the kind of trailer park trash hit guy, wins the lottery. Very, very, very smart writing. Very cool the way he had to deal with that and all the people that come up against him. You might probably know him best from that, perhaps. But yeah, so yeah, for me, it's Jason Lee is fucking fantastic. Also, Dreamcatchers.
Yeah.
Dreamcatchers, an incredibly underrated Stephen King movie. In fact, Stephen King hates that movie, so I've read. It's by far his least favorite adaptation, and I think he's great. I think it's a super fun movie. I did it. I fucking ooby do. I use that all the time. Jason Lee, who dies on the toilet, if I remember correctly, in that movie. Jason Lee went through a phase of dying in an awful lot of movies, getting killed off. He didn't do that many. He quit Hollywood because it's gone, which I think we're all. Social media has helped us all find out now that it pretty much is.
Yeah.
Far too much of it really is. And the guy went, "Yeah, I'm sick of this shit. I'm not even an actor. So screw you. I've got more to life." And has only Kevin Smith has pretty much been able to kind of tempt him back into that sordid world, which kind of also tells you something, about the writing, that you can get a guy who quit, who walked away, who went, "This is not for me," but came back to make a few more Kevin Smith movies.
I mean, it was the same with guy who plays Randall. He did the Clerks movies, and he wasn't really bothered about acting. He wasn't bothered about getting into it, and they managed to bring him back for a third one because they talked about Clerks 3 for ages, and he's saying he don't want to do another one. He's not bothered, but I think because of how Kevin is with not just his friends, but like, I mean, he's pretty much a friend to everyone. But like anyone he meets, he treats them like human beings, not like actors. And he's obviously his hetero life mate Jason Mewes. He wasn't an actor at all in the slightest. Kevin Smith put him in a film, and it's helped Jay in more ways than just boost a career out of it. It's helped him with his drug problems, podcasting and like that. And Jay's come out on his own, and he's doing things on his own now. And it's just because Kevin Smith treats them like human beings. He doesn't treat them like actors. He doesn't, he's not there.
He can act. The mother.
Yeah, he can.
Who would have thought it? One of the great things about having a viewers universe day, like people do, I tend to have a May the 4th, if I can get time off work, if I can get people together, we'll sit and watch Star Wars movies all day. Watching the evolution of that kid, from Kevin just insisting you've got to be in it because it's fucking you, right? Nobody else will play that part. It has to be you. I don't even want you to act. Just fucking be you. I was so nervous and everything, especially in Clerks. He's got the sort of 2 lines or whatever that he actually has.
Yeah.
They're so bad. They're the most final cut, but they're so bad. But that's part of what makes it real. It just and to go from that to then go from the such reboot to go from a guy meeting a daughter he didn't know he had, and trying to make some kind of the bonding experience that then those characters finally have with a big, ridiculously smushy ending is just absolutely phenomenal. See that he's capable of that. Watching that growth is just a fantastic thing. I love that. I love to see that with watching any artist,
Yeah,
watching them grow. Like I say, you can always art being subjective. You always have your preferences. Maybe you don't want to see the new stuff. You always want to you prefer the old stuff or whatever. But I'm the kind of guy with anything. I'm like it with music. I don't want to hear a band just make that album over and over again because it was a
yeah,
hit. Just stick to that blueprint. Just go, that worked. Let's do that again. So the same with filmmaking, photography, any other kind of art, imagery kind of art or whatever. I like to see people move on and expand and try new things. Try and fail,
yeah,
by all means, perhaps, but try new things. I like that. I'm not the guy that goes, no, don't do that. Do that again. I'm like, no, that's cool. I prefer the other stuff, but like I'm always have a respect for someone trying something new, doing something new. I was going to say getting better, but that's not necessarily the case. But just expanding and experimenting is, I think, always good and does make you better.
yeah,
Trying something
100%.
new, even if it doesn't work, and then you fall back on the thing you used to do, you'll probably do that thing better than you used to do it because you tried the new thing more often than not. So I think that's always good. I love watching that. I love seeing that kind of story development, like the real life story development alongside, in this case, a character
Yeah.
development.
I,
There's,
th- I,
there's,
th- I think if you keep doing the same thing you're doing, you're not gonna improve in any way whatsoever. I mean, it's like actors that get typecast and things like that, and they hate it because it's not allowing them to expand on what they know they could be doing. At least, I mean, they might be bad at it, but they want to have a go. They could be doing it, and they might find something new that they're really good at. But they get typecast as certain characters, and it ends up ruining their careers and things like that because no one's letting them experiment. And experimentation is what life's all about. You just have to go through life and try new things. And if it doesn't work out, you've not lost anything. You've gained an experience no
yeah,
matter what.
yeah,
So it's just all about trying new things. And again, whatever media it relates to for you personally, just try different things. And if it doesn't work out, go back and you'll notice that slight improvement over time with whatever you're doing before because you've got that experience and realize that even if you can't do the new thing fully, you might be able to add certain things from it to your work that you're doing before.
yeah. You see, kids, this is where you come to get the truth. All the nuggets of truth and genius, and this you won't, you don't get that from Joe Rogan. No, you got to come here for that. So we're saying a lot of niche words and names that might mean absolutely fuck all to some people who might be watching, but two words, two words that people will know are Ben Affleck. Right? I'm sure you all know those words. I would assume most of you like those words. The guy's a fucking megastar. Uh, so may I be the one to tell you, if you don't know, I know Connor knows this, but I'm talking to the rest of you. If there's no Kevin Smith, there's no Ben Affleck, right? It's that simple. This was the guy who discovered him. This was the guy who said he could be a leading man. This was the guy who had the balls to give him, as a young man, his first leading role in a movie after a couple of supporting roles. And the rest is history. It's fucking Ben Affleck. Uh,
Yeah,
I'll give you two other words. Matt Damon. I'm sure you all know Matt Damon. I hope you all know Matt Damon. I freaking love Matt Damon. I mean, they're my boys. I mean, through Kevin Smith, they're my
yeah,
boys. Shoot. Matt and Ben, I feel like I've watched those kids grow up and go on to phenomenal things, and that they'll always be special to me. Anything those kids shit on, I'll I watch. Anything they've got anything to do with writer, producer, director, cameo, or starring role, if they're interested in it, I feel like it's probably going to appeal to me. So I'm going to have a piece of that. I just trust them wholeheartedly. They're on it. I'm on it. Love those guys. And again, it starts with Kevin Smith movies. So if you're wondering what all this is about, but if you like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, now they're not in every Kevin Smith movie. They're in an awful lot of Kevin Smith, but they're not in every Kevin Smith movie. This is because I'm actually. This is insane. Right. I've got to stop being so animated. See, I'm getting all excited because I can barely. Because it's a good job. This is a head and shoulders only, or there's something lower down you probably shouldn't see. I'm so excited because I'm talking about Kevin Smith. Anyway, so yeah, so you're a huge Ben Affleck fan, or maybe not huge, but Ben Affleck fan follower.
Absolutely. Obviously, with a lot of the controversy around him being cast as Batman and everything, I was one of those people that was sat there going, "Nope, he's going to fucking nail it. He's going to be brilliant." Because, like I said, he hung out with Kevin Smith. He was around his house reading comics and everything. He knows what he's looking at and what he's doing.
Huge nerd.
Yeah. So I was like,
ladies, nerds can be beautiful too, right? You can see if you're like, I don't think I could see myself with one of those like comic book guys or video game guys. I don't think I could see myself. Ben Affleck, huge motherfucking comic book guy. I was just
going to say people like Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill as well.
Henry Cavill, who only gets off his ass and stops gaming to act when that red letter comes through the door that the bills need fucking paying. It's like, shit.
Yeah.
better go knock up a quick Hollywood movie.
That's it.
He's not interested
nearly
in that.
missing the call to play Superman because he was playing World of Warcraft instead.
Yeah. It's like Hollywood movie. But to be in that position where like making a AAA Hollywood blockbuster, that's like his hobby.
Yeah.
and Warcraft is what Warhammer is what he really does. So, yeah, we're not all, Simpsons gave comic book guys. Oh, it's now. Hey.
Hello,
there we go. This is terrible. It's good. The conversation's so great, it doesn't matter. So yeah, kids, no Kevin Smith, no Ben Affleck. What else? But so we're gonna go to. I'm gonna throw up. We've got to talk about Red State.
Oh yes,
Red State now, as they proudly emblazon Tarantino quoting all over that movie. I fucking love that movie too. This is a guy who spent decades doing like smart comedy and then suddenly throws out a movie about a religious cult of gun-toting evangelists. Like what they've been.
After he'd already had religious protests at Dogma and things like that, for touching any kind of religious content, he'd already had protests and everything. He had the balls to do it again.
This is there's not no laughs, but it's a dark humor, black comedy, if we're still allowed to say that. Yeah, but it is genuinely predominantly a serious movie. It's not a preachy movie in any way. It's like I said, religious cultist, but it's not saying religion is bad. as such. Just that bad people are bad, weirdos are bad, and anyone pretty much, I guess, who goes extreme with anything is not good. But it's an incredible film. That's the one I can show people, and they do go, yeah, they can't connect those dots
Yeah.
between that and the weird angel movie where Alanis Morissette is God. They like there's such obvious parallels to both movies about the pros and cons and fables of religion. But yeah, that's a great. Obviously, I mean, I like it. So those things. You're already a fan, so I'm thinking it's the latest Kevin Smith film, so I'm gonna like it. That's kind of like a given. But that's the film, like I say, I can show non-Kevin Smith fans. Not that they're not aware of it, they are aware of it. I've fucking made sure they're aware of it, but they don't like it. But that's the film where even they go, shit, that's good.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where, like I said, we're on about experimenting earlier and doing things that are out of what you normally do, and that was definitely his sort of big jump to something where he'd experimented, and it came out the best that it could have been, really. And it's just one of those films where you look at it, you're like, I know this is done by the same guy, but it does not feel like it's done by the same guy.
No, no, because even it's not very often that he uh, directs other people's work. It doesn't mind jumping into doing the one episode of a long running TV show, uh, because as he said, they take care of themselves. It's money for nothing. He doesn't actually do anything. Doesn't Kevin Smithify that episode of The Flash? He lets them make The Flash, and he maybe has a few ideas here and there, but it's no big deal. Because even on films where he hasn't written the film, he's just directed it, but he still puts a very, you can still tell, he still
Yeah.
finds a way to put various Smithian elements in there, like the cop out, the controversial, very divisive cop out, which I actually quite like. I think it's funny.
I was hoping you'd say that because it was one of those where he talks shit about it all the time, and everyone's like, yeah, it's terrible, blah blah blah. And I'm kind of sat there, I was like, I enjoyed it. Like,
Yeah, well, I mean,
the interrogation scene is one of my favorite scenes ever.
I mean, it was a massive, flop. It made
Yeah.
fucking no money, which is the universal thought. If it makes no money, it's bad. No, it's just made no money. It didn't get to the right audience. Maybe it wasn't marketed properly, wasn't advertised properly. Who knows? But just because it didn't make money doesn't mean it's bad. It's yeah, because like Tracy is fucking on fire. He's fucking comedy gold all the way through that. It's really really great, and you just think, yeah, it suits. You can see if I had written that, I would want Kevin Smith to direct it. You can see why he would read that and go, "That's the thing I could do." It's the closest thing to me that's not me, So
Yeah.
even that must have been a fairly relatively easy day at the office for him. It's pretty close to what he does anyway. It's just a buddy cop movie. If anybody's interested, but it's fun. Look it up, Cop Out. It's fun. I think
If
it's
nothing else, watch the interrogation scene on YouTube because that's one of my favorite
yes,
scenes of all
yes.
time. I mean, like you say, Tracy Morgan's just absolutely top notch throughout the entire film, and to be honest, Bruce Willis just adds to it. Like his reactions to everything Tracy Morgan does, it just makes the film so much better.
Yeah, I mean, Bruce Willis, don't get me wrong, he's somewhat phoning it in, but when you're Bruce fucking Willis, you can phone it in and still be better than a whole bunch of other actors that could have been in that role. He's certainly not pushing any boundaries of Willisness. He's not doing anything you haven't seen him do like a million times before. He's very just in his wheelhouse, being Bruce. So that's fine. And I love a Bruce Willis movie, so I was always going to watch that film. There's the connection from Kevin Smith being in Die Hard 4, uh, again, if anybody's not familiar, the big fat tech guy in Die Hard 4, Warlock, I think he goes by the code name of that guy. Because nobody watched Die Hard 4 because they told you it was shit. Another film, I actually don't mind it, regardless of the Kevin Smith's in it, and I'm a big Kevin Smith fangirl. Not that. Justin Long's in it, and I fucking love that guy. And Bruce Willis is in it, and he's Die Hard, and he's Die Hard 4, and like Die Hard 1 is amazing, Die Hard 2 is fine, Die Hard 3 is fucking brilliant. Someone's going to watch 4. Why wouldn't I watch Die Hard 4? There's nothing wrong with the 3 previous movies. 2 of them are really, really, really good, and 1 of them is fine for my taste. So I was always going to watch a Die Hard 4 anyway.
Yeah, I think a lot of people nitpick too much with movies these days. I don't think many people who go to see movies actually enjoy themselves as much as they like to think they do.
Yeah.
I think there's just something like, I mean, even in talking about like controversial DC films and stuff like that, I'm kind of the type of person that will sit there and, you know, if something pops up that I've seen in the comic book, that gets me excited. I'm just like, great, they've added that in. You know, that's enough for me to enjoy this film because they've added that little detail. And, you know, it's there, whether it has a big scene or not. I mean, like in when Batman versus Superman first came out and they had the parademons in it, and I was like, oh my God. Like, you know, that's the first time they've ever been on live action screen. And, you know, and then the extended cut came out and everyone was like, oh my God, this film's amazing. I was like, it was good before. I really enjoyed it before, and a lot of people slated it. And it was, you know, things like that. I think that a lot of people go into films expecting a bit too much these days.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know why people can't just enjoy a thing anymore.
Yeah.
They can't just sit back and go on that adventure, go on that ride. I mean, I watch a lot of shit. I want to come on here now and talk a lot of shit to people, and I love to get other people's, you know, opinions and dig a little deeper. And I like to give my own, but I would never. One of the things I said with Snikt that I was never going to do is I'm never reviewing anything. Not in the sense of like give an out of 10 or so many stars kind of a rating style review, because I feel that is like telling people whether they should or shouldn't see it or play it or whatever because I said so. You know, if I say it's 5 stars, you should all watch it and you should all like it. No, that's just my opinion. I will give. Obviously, I watch things, play things. I come on here and I talk about it, so that's a review. But that's just my opinion, and it's totally just my opinion.
Yeah.
And you should. What I would say to everybody is you should go see it, not because I think it's good, so you should go see it. I just say you should go see it so that you can have an opinion and come on here and talk to me about it. Because until you go see it, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Because so many people seem to have hated something lately, and it's not even out yet.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm never going to.
That was another area that I stepped into.
This movie for some reasons, and it's like this movie is bad, and it's not out. You haven't seen it.
Yeah. That was another area I stepped into at one point. I had a website and like Twitter and things like that called Media Morat, again inspired by Kevin Smith. But it was just so I could talk about the films I loved and everything, because a lot of them were getting slated online, and you know, like people look at sites like Rotten Tomatoes and things like that, and it's like audience have scored this terrible, or I'm not going to see it. I mean, like I really enjoy the newest Hellboy movie. Absolutely love it, and it just got completely slated. They'll never make a sequel to it now.
Me and a friend, we that movie came up not too long ago, and we both did the same thing. We watched it. We initially just not getting a Del Toro Hellboy 3 that we've been wanting, you know, ever since Hellboy 2, and then we kind of write it off as okay, that's not going to happen. Then you get the news there's a new Hellboy movie, and you get excited. Then it's like, yeah, but it's not that one. And it's like, motherfuckers, you know.
Yeah.
Then they cast David Harbour, and I went, oh, I mean, I'd rather you not recast it at all, because you have the perfect guy who's still alive right there, and has said many a time, I'll drop whatever I'm doing to come back and be Hellboy. So, like, why would you do that? But if you're gonna do that, it seemed like a choice that it made sense, and it got me energized and got me up for the idea again. You then put Mia Jovovich in it, which I'm quite a fan of Mia. She's done some pretty cool shit. So I was like, yeah, Mike Mignola, the author of the Hellboy comic books, for people who don't know, had like masses of involvement. He had a fair amount of involvement in the original 2 movies with Del Toro, but in this one, he was like, had so much more to do with it. It was going to go in. I've seen interviews with him saying, we're going so much more. It's so much more like a live action comic book. We're going to do so much more stuff that you see in the book that we didn't do in those other movies, because they were their own thing. They were just movies inspired by, based on the comic book. The 2 over there, very much a cinematic universe of Hellboy, and it's fantastic. I love those movies. I still really like Hellboy 1 and 2 a lot.
Yeah.
So this movie, so I was up for it. And even though I was up for it and in a good frame of mind, I watched it and I really didn't like it at all. I've developed a thing in more recent times of I watch everything twice, at least twice. And that latest Hellboy film was one of those where on the second viewing, I was like, actually, it ain't too bad. On the third viewing, I was like, you know, I quite like this. We've since probably watched it 5 or 6 times, which, you know, if you go back in time and tell slightly younger me watching it for the first time, you're going to enjoy it. You're going to love this film.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out. No way.
Yeah. It's one of those, like, when I was reviewing it from my site.
Me, but it
yeah.
did.
Yeah, when I was reviewing it from my site, I was just like, look, at the end of the day, I'm not so blind that, you know, I love it without seeing all its problems. It did have problems. The cast and crew have admitted that it had its problems behind the scenes. Yeah. There was issues with the writing, with the direction, things like that, the editing. You watch parts of it and you're just like, they definitely needed to sort that out before they released it. But at the end of the day, again, it was one of those where I kind of sat there watching it and I was like, they've got the Gruagach in it, which is the big pig man, and I was like, people who haven't read the comics have no idea if you've only seen the Del Toro films and not read the comics and things like that. I'm like, you have no idea who this is. Like, he's a part of the main story kind of thing. And I was like, they've actually brought it to the screen now. So that was excitement for me.
It's one of those movies they definitely did lean into more. This is for the Hellboy fans.
Yeah.
Not like casual, oh, superheroes are cool. I like superheroes. Oh, another superhero film. I'll go watch that. It is a bit more niche in that sense. That it's maybe a little harder to get into for that, and that might have had something to do with not just like you said, there are elements of it that are just incredibly badly made, and you just wonder how that like actually passed quality control and got out, unless it's just like, we've spent the money. We just need to release it. You know, like eventually they did with the Flash.
I think
and all it.
One of the biggest problems with films today is studios. Studio involvement is just getting too much. Like, they're cutting things down, but they need to realize that if you're a fan of something, you're going to sit there for a good 2.5, 3 hours if it takes that long. Like, releasing director cuts and things like that. But I'm like, you're releasing something that already has a fan base. You're adapting things from comic books and from, you know, novels and things like that. You've already got the fan base there, but studios want to make sure that they're introducing other people to it to make as much money as they can. I was like, you'll make more money, especially when you've got directors that are so passionate about it and actors that are so passionate about it. Yeah. They know what they're doing. So if you just let them make what they want to make, you'll get the more money because they're doing something that's passionate to the other fans.
It's crazy. It seems such simple logic.
Exactly.
There was, and yet, you know, whatever mad scientist lab studio executives are made in, they just don't fucking get
Yeah.
it still. You know, Marvel eventually, you know, after years of, you know, selling the rights to whoever and having various levels of success with go, oh, what if we made them ourselves? Because every time we try and get involved in the Sony movie, in the Universal movie, in the Fox movie, or whatever, they don't want to know, you know. So
Yeah.
we thankfully have Marvel Studios. Is we live in a world now where Marvel Studios is a thing, and Marvel make Marvel movies. It's not Disney. They have some stake in it with some cash to make it happen.
Yeah.
But this is Marvel writers writing Marvel movies and making Marvel movies, and it's absolutely freaking amazing. I can't believe that's happening in my lifetime, and I just keep them coming. I know people are shitting all over like the last everything since Endgame is getting shit on, and I think that's incredibly unfair. I think history will tell a tale on that one. But because they're the people who should be making these movies, they can't get it wrong. It can't be wrong because it's Marvel
Yeah.
taking a Marvel character and making a Marvel movie at Marvel Studios with it. You, person sat at home on the internet, you know, in Rotherham, who works in the spa, can't tell Marvel that they're doing Marvel wrong. You know, you just can't do that. You can
Yeah.
not enjoy it. You can go, I didn't really get into that one. Fine. Of course, you're entitled to that opinion, but you can't say that they're wrong or they're getting it wrong. They're not as good. No, if you don't like it as much, there's a difference. It's subtle, but there's a difference, and that's why I said I wouldn't reviewing things and like giving star ratings feels like saying that's what I see a lot of online on YouTube. I feel like it's you get very little real, genuine opinion from
Yeah.
anyone. They just pick a bandwagon, whether it's love it or hate it, and make that video because that one gets the traffic, gets the hits, gets the likes, gets the subscribers, gets the sponsorship. It's a job, as we said earlier. You're not doing art. You're not coming online talking about movies because you have a passion for movies. It's just something you want to get out of you and share with the world. It's you're doing it because it's a viable career choice if you work hard enough at it and spam it around enough and you know say what you think people want to hear. Whereas I want to come on here with a great person such as yourself and tell the truth, yo. Which is just my truth. Might not be your truth, but it's my truth, and that's all you're going to get.
Yeah.
My opinion. It is what it is. It's not right. It's not wrong. Neither is yours. It's just mine. And there's not enough of that. I feel like there's not enough of that, and so I'm trying to do my little bit to just get just something real out there on the internet, as opposed to trying to trigger the algorithm in my favor.
Yeah.
I have no interest in that. You know, in defense of the army, I'll defend the Eternals. For fuck's sake, that's what I'll do. I'll try and tell you that Eternals is a decent film
Well,
because nobody likes that. I think nobody likes that film but me.
I didn't mind it, but
It's the
yeah,
best DC film.
whenever I did
Eternals, that was always
whenever I
my
did
thing.
reviews, I always just sort of looked at it as I'm just going to write reviews about the things I liked because I don't like to write a bad review simply because at the end of the day, hundreds of hours went into making something and you know it's hard work and there's people behind it that you know may not have enjoyed it themselves but they worked all them hours on it and things like that, and if you're just on the internet slamming them it just makes it feel like a whole waste of time for them and like it just end up being a shitty human being and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
not
the
well,
thing. I
I'm
mean,
not there to be a shitty human being.
No.
I'll just, if I love something, I'll sing it from the rooftops. I don't care. But if I don't like something, move on.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's so fucking disrespectful. That's what I mean. People who do not work within that medium, whatever it might be, claiming that to say that something is bad, you don't know it's bad. You didn't like it. There is a difference. If people just say, I didn't like it, I can accept that. Trying to tell me that it's bad, tell me that it's badly written. Okay, when was the last time you wrote a movie? A
Yeah,
book or a comic book? You didn't enjoy that writing style, It's just that subtle different way. If you want to come on and say, I didn't enjoy the writing, it was too convoluted for me to explain it, defend yourself,
yeah,
put some meat on those bones as to why you don't like it, and just that you don't like it, not that it's bad, because somebody else does like it for one thing. And like you said, the person who created it, or the very many people maybe it takes to create a fucking big budget Hollywood movie. There are many thousands of people involved in actually getting that into your eyeballs. Worked really fucking hard on it, and with skills that you do not possess, and have no interest in even learning. So, yeah, shut the fuck up.
yeah. I was gonna say one of my biggest loves is werewolf films. I'm absolutely obsessed with werewolves, and literally that whole shelf here is just all werewolf films. Um, and not all of them are great. You know, a lot of them are small indie films that have a man in a very cheap, Halloween party suit. And at the end of the day, it's you've got to put that feeling aside because not every film is going to have the big budget, amazing costumes or amazing CGI to make a monster come to life. But as long as the writing's as long as you enjoy the film for the writing and the story and things like that, or
And
you can at least
everything.
see, yeah, or you like some of them you can not enjoy, but you can see where it was going to go if they had the budget, if they had,
Yeah.
the sort of time to make it as the best that it could be. You can see that, there's a passion there to make this film the best that it can be, but it just didn't quite hit the mark. And I think a lot of people miss that these days in films. I think you've just got to look at sort of not just the overall product, but the thought behind it all.
Exactly. Storytelling is king. Not just movies, but all art, any medium. Essentially, your storytelling. Whatever you do, if whether you're a sculptor, a painter, a photographer, a musician, whatever, an actor, whatever it is that you do, it's storytelling. It all comes down to storytelling. Um, it's again, it's finding your voice and you're telling your story through that medium as only you can. And
Yeah.
anyone who's brave enough to do that, and especially then do that and put it in the public realm in some way, um, open to all that fucking criticism, all the potential hate and the potential love that could come from putting it out there. It's super brave. Anyone who does that with anything, whatever it is you do, when you put it out there in public, I almost feel like it's unfair to almost criticize anything. Especially as I've got older, I've learned this. I feel it's unfair. I won't criticize. There's things I dislike, of course there is,
Mm.
that weren't my thing. But like I said, I have a respect that it's could be somebody else's thing, and the people who made that thing really tried their best to impress me. They failed with me, you know. They failed, so I won't shit on it for that. I'll keep it short and I'll find something else to talk about instead.
That's it.
Because there's no point. It's a waste of time. What's the point in coming on something like this, in taking to YouTube and making a 15, 20-minute video hating on something? It's just, what is the point? I mean, make a 20-minute video hating racism.
Yeah,
So talk
exactly.
about how bad racism is. Yeah, I can see a place in the world for that. Make a 20-minute video hating on the Marvels, which you haven't even actually seen. You're just assuming it's bad because
Yeah.
somebody told you it is, when it's not. It's really not. In fact, it's really, really fucking fun. Super, super fun, that film. Good, that's a different word. Fun, it's definitely fun. There's no two ways about that. You can't really argue that case. I challenge anyone not to find it fun, um, if nothing else. If nothing else, if it's just fluffy in one ear, out the other, bit of popcorn fun. It's that but ridiculous hate. Is it for this context? I think recently the Marvels just is a great case in point. So much hate for something from people who have not and have obviously not seen it. From the things that they say, it's really clear that you haven't seen it. You can't go into any details about what happens because you don't know, because you haven't fucking seen it. And if you hate it because 4 of the 5 main characters are non-white, then fuck you, right?
Yeah.
Because you have some black people, some brown people, and a cat. It's not really a cat; it's an alien. But if that's why you hate it, then fuck you. If you hate it because the three out of the 5 main cast members are female, then fuck you. Go tell your mom how you feel about this. The the woman who brought you into existence through pain and blood, and tell her, yeah, I don't like, women can't save the world. I don't like it when they do that. Try telling your mum that. See how she thinks she did a good job. All the hard work she put in raising you for you to have that opinion right now. Go try that one. Fuck you. I'm ranting. I shouldn't do that. I'm almost getting. I'm talking about like not hating a thing, and then I hate haters. I think it's okay to hate the haters. When you're hating for the sake of it, nobody hates anything. That's an incredibly strong emotion that should be reserved for someone or something that has really screwed you over. Like really, really, really screwed you over. It's a natural human emotion, but it's not something you have about a film.
Yeah.
It's about a piece of entertainment that took 90 minutes, 2 hours out of your life. And many times I have wanted those 2 hours back. I've seen plenty of those films, but it's okay. There's still worse things that could have happened to me within those 2 hours. Far worse things that could have happened to me within those 2 hours than watching a kind of shitty movie. You know, it's not something you hate.
Yeah, but if you definitely want to find something that you should not hate, and would definitely enjoy at least somewhat, then definitely watch Kevin Smith films.
We think so. We think so. Give them a try, kids, if you haven't. If we aspire to do one thing, pick one. Any good casts of some of them, if that's what it takes to get you into it. I remember once Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, right? I remember during the theatrical release of that, Jonathan Ross was doing the main movie review program on the BBC at the time, and I didn't expect it, to even be on. Normally a film like that you might not even bother, might not even get a place, on the flagship movie review show on the BBC. But it did, and I thought that's cool. That's the thing, because now Jonathan Ross, who's doing it, who's kind of left of centre, alternative comedian, is a big sort of punk rock fan. Not the stuck up, fusty, elderly movie reviewer who only likes films where, like, it's got Meryl Streep in, and there's probably somebody dying of some horrible terminal illness, and it's going to win all the Oscars. And maybe there's something about feminism and being gay all in one movie. That's the movie that's amazing. So I thought, oh, Kev's in with a chance here, with Wassy. Well, Wassy might give it a thumbs up, and he fucking hated it. He really, really let rip. And I didn't see that coming. I thought this was the guy who might, give him some flowers. And he was like, I can't, he like reeled off the list of some of the big names that cameo throughout that movie. And he was like, and like threw back to sort of Dogma and the likes of Rickman. And I was like, why do these people keep doing it? Why do these people keep having anything to do with this fucker who can't make a film to save his life? It was kind of like, I think he throws a little bit in like, you know, well, I mean, Clerks was okay, but ever since then, you know, it's like he was a one and done kind of a, you know, that one off piece of magic, never to be repeated. Why do people keep signing up for these films? Why is Ben Affleck still hanging out with this guy? You
Because
know, and I was like,
it's fun.
what? You know? No, it's
Yeah.
not. And it's not the, you know, it's not an Oscar-winning movie, no. But it's like, wow, I was really surprised by that at the time. That's the thing that always sticks with me. That kind of surprised me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, like I said, it's definitely one of those that's it's not going to be for everyone, but there's a certain audience out there that it definitely reaches out to, and it doesn't even need to be like a lot of people assume that the people that love Kevin Smith film are all weed smokers and things like that.
Yeah.
Never touched the stuff in my life, but I find all the jokes and everything else, absolutely hilarious. And like with the recently, I don't think they've done it yet, but they've been talking about it for some time, and they're doing the whole Viewisk Universe cruise, and like you can go on a cruise with them and stuff like that. And I showed it my brother, and he was like, "I can already smell the cruise ship." And I was like, "Yeah,
well,
it might give us a headache, but yeah." I was like, "It would be awesome to be on that ship," but it's but yeah, a lot of people assume that like anyone that watches it or enjoys his film are either just extremely immature or smoke weed and stuff like that. I'm just like, I mean, nothing wrong with being immature. It makes life fun.
I have loved the stoner comedy.
Yeah.
Without knowing that there was a genre.
Yeah.
In fact, of stoner comedy. I mean, I'm not even sure that there really is. And beyond Cheech and Chong, and then anything else, there's slacker movies. I don't know. But yeah, the so-called stoner comedy is a thing that I've liked before I knew what a stoner comedy was. I was watching them, and there's kind of less around. I mean, there's less comedy. There's less out and out comedy around, I think, these days than ever. There's films with comedy. As we said, the superhero films, the MCU has a large bucket of comedy thrown over most of them. Sometimes could have done with a more serious tone at times, I think myself. But you have the romantic comedies, which maybe more on the romance side than the comedy most of the time. But like the good old days of like just either the straight up like slapstick comedy, putting characters, certain types of characters, into the worst possible scenario where these people should never find themselves, and then watching them ridiculously deal with it, it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I think a big portion of the world has lost its sense of humor with that sort of stuff. Like I've seen articles where people are looking back on stupid comedy films and they're just like, this is ridiculous. Like, why did we ever enjoy this? Why does anyone enjoy this? I'm just like, it's fun. Like, it's just a bit of light-hearted fun. There's nothing, it's not like preaching racism or anything like that. There's certain films. I mean, like films like American Pie that got a big thing recently, and people watching it, and like new generations watching it, and they're just like, "What? Why is this a film? Like, it's just all about sex, blah blah blah." I'm just like, it's funny, like.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can look back with, like 2024 eyes and sensibilities, and the kind of like, oh, should they have said that? Oh, is that appropriate? kind of thing. And I do understand that.
Yeah.
I do. I get where people are coming from, but it's comedy.
Yeah.
When,
That's
when
what
it's
I mean.
comedy, when it's very, very clear that it's comedy, they're not necessarily promoting that behavior or that
Yeah.
attitude. Look at this guy. He's a fucking moron. You're supposed to think he's a moron. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the hero, or anything you're supposed to, a role model in any way. You're supposed to think this guy's a moron. You're not supposed to like him as such, necessarily when characters are saying and doing some of these modern day inappropriate things,
Yeah. Again, and that's a big thing. Like, people can't differentiate between actors and characters anymore. Like, I mean, you've got people posting memes now about Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder, where obviously he does blackface and everything else, and it's like that's the character playing another character who's black, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you have to differentiate that that's not necessarily Robbie Downey Jr. That's his character. Like, that's how it works. And yeah, there is a lot of sort of issues with trying to do things like that nowadays. I mean, obviously, one of the big ones was comedies like Little Britain, that got a lot of controversy in like the past year or whatever for blackface and things like that. And yeah, there is obviously the big point there that it is offensive to some people, but again, it's characters and it's not coming from any sort of violent or harsh perspective. It's
Yeah.
it's just making comedy. There's no malicious intent behind it.
Yeah, I think more often than not, if you're
Yeah.
in any way a decent comedian or a decent writer, you make it pretty fucking obvious. Like I said, the point of origin, where this is coming from, that it's not coming from negativity or hate or any part of prejudice or malice. That it's the gag,
Yeah.
It's all for the gag, and if that's what you need to make it work, laugh, laugh along. I mean, if you're, I won't ask your age because that's rude. But if you're an old grey man like me, I mean, I grew up with like Eddie Murphy and Richard Pryor doing stand up, right? Eddie Murphy, huge movie star, comes and goes.
Yeah.
He's about to do a new Beverly Hills Cop, which I don't think anybody wants except for him. But you never know. You never know. I'll be watching.
About to say it's always worth a
I'll be
watch.
watching. I'm setting the bar very low, but I'll be watching. Because coming to America was great. So you never know. But I remember seeing Eddie Murphy stand up show on VHS, I think. And one of his gags was he walks on stage and he looks $1 million, You can tell that's a fucking expensive outfit, and he strolls on, making sure everybody can see him. He takes his fucking time and he's like, yeah. Big movie star now, just got out the limo, walked in it and he starts telling you, like fucking whatever it is, like $500 shoes, this is a fucking $1,000 pair of pants. This is a fucking $2,500 jacket. Start showing off some of the jewelry. He's like, because I can do that now. I'm a big fucking movie star. And he's like, and so people want to know, like, and not bad for a fucking, black guy from the ghetto or whatever. And then he starts talking about his dad. And his dad motivated him, and his dad's motivational speech and his inspiration. How his dad told him that, like, if you want anything in this life, son, you're going to have to go out and get it. Because if you've not noticed, you're a young black man. So nobody's going to give you shit. Right? So you're going to have to go out and take it, But what they are going to give you, they are going to give you shit. They're going to give you a lot of shit, Don't expect anything from the white man, And I'm listening to this shit that as a white man, as a young white kid, and it's like, but the three things that they're never going to give you, that they won't give you, is a black eye, a fat lip, and a job. And it's like, We're not supposed to laugh. It's 2024 now. We're
Yeah.
not supposed to laugh at that. But it's like, oh, it's okay when a black guy says it, but it's not okay if I say it and shit like that. And it's like, no, it's you. And if anybody says it, it's okay because it's a joke, you know. And so
Yeah.
between like that guy, Richard Pryor, George Carlin, as a Kevin Smith fan, George Carlin's quite a sort of monument, a landmark point, something he made an effort to keep putting in. These guys did not fuck around.
Yeah.
They did not mince their words, did not care if you were offended. All the better for being offended. Being offended makes you think, or it should do, make you stop and think, why am I offended? Try and justify your offense if you're offended. And that's when you might realize, actually, I'm not offended. It just felt like I should be, but actually I'm not. You know, because very few things are offensive. Very few things offend me. I'm very small. You know, nobody, there's no Martin Luther King, there's no Malcolm X, there's no civil rights movement for fucking short people. You know, you can make as many short jokes as you want. Nobody gives a fuck, right? You know, oh, don't, you know, you can't make the blonde woman jokes anymore. You can't, you know, make the race jokes or whatever anymore. But you can take the piss out of short people all motherfucking day. And I'm not allowed to be offended by that. Of course, I am allowed. I mean, I'm not. But, you know, but I could be. If I wanted to start a movement, short lives matter, perhaps I could. Maybe I should do that. But it would be fucking stupid.
Yeah.
I don't see why would I do that? It's just a joke. You know, if there's any genuine depression, if it stops me getting a job, if they start putting signs up in stores saying no short people, and I can't go in and spend my hard-earned money in this shop, if things like that start happening, then yeah, I'll kick fucking right off. But if it's just somebody casually, you know, refers to me as a hobbit, it's fine. You know, if in fact the hobbits are pretty fucking cool, it's fine. You know, I'm okay with that. I'm not offended by that one bit.
I think the problem is a lot of the people that get offended are the people that aren't being like represented by that piss take. So like if someone does blackface, it's usually a bunch of white people that are offended by it.
It seems that way.
That's what it seems to be recently anyway. But yeah, it's like I said, there's plenty, I'm sure, in Kevin Smith films that have been brought up about things like in Chasing Amy. Obviously, it's about a man who eventually like falls in love with a woman who's a lesbian, and then you know eventually winds up with her, and shit happens and stuff like that. And people are like, you know, if she's a lesbian, she should only, you know, she shouldn't be falling in love with this guy, kind of thing. And like people have been offended by that. But at the end of the day, it's a comedy sketch. It's not meant to be, you know, attacking any one person.
No, it certainly doesn't. That film, why that film was not a huge hit, is not still a huge hit to this day, is not talked about, I think is fucking criminal.
Yeah.
I think the performances are fantastic, the writing. I think for me, the exploration of that context, again, I'll reiterate what Connor's just said. The main crux of it is you have three people, two guys, best friends, best friends, and we've all been in that situation. Your best friend gets a girlfriend or a boyfriend. Your best friend gets romantically linked to someone, and they potentially, like, and you're out the picture somewhat. They're going to get a bit. It's somewhat understandable. They get a bit carried away with that person. You play second fiddle a little bit. It's not the greatest feeling in the world, but it's something we all relate to. I'm sure most of us have kind of been through that, and most of us have maybe done that to our best friend when we've had a sniff of a romantic relationship, and hopefully we work through that. Add extra context onto that with the sexuality issue and love, and what is love, the difference between romantic love and physical love and psychological love. is just a phenomenal exploration of those concepts, which isn't put to film very often at all. I mean, there was so much hype, and rightly so, for Brokeback Mountain back in the day when that came out. Great film, incredibly well made, incredibly well acted, but I'm like, but there was Chasing Amy like years ago, like back in the fucking 90s. There was this film, and now there's all this talk of diversity and gender fluidity and self ID and all of this. There's like 1,000 different potential sexualities you could refer to yourself as. It's great. I love it. You're all beautiful people, whatever you do. But this was a film like so old, like 20 years or more ahead of its time, really sticking its neck out, exploring it. People are looking back at it now. It's gaining a bit of traction, like you said. People are kind of finding it. Although people are looking for, I don't know, queer representation in movies or something, and they're going back and finding it, and then finding reasons to not like it, which I never understand. Yeah, they're obviously, as we keep saying, they're entitled to their opinion on that. But I think just as an exploration from a guy who doesn't know, but he's trying to feel his way through the minefield, the real life minefield of this shit's real. You know, lesbians exist. You know, sexuality exists. It's a thing, and we're all different. And it's just a really good attempt at trying to analyze that and still then keep that within the context of a movie that also tries to be funny, not to make fun of anybody's sexuality, just to be funny at people, how human beings are awkward and stupid, and how we try and deal with situations and fail for the most part because life is hard. And there isn't a life for dummies we can get and just go, oh, you know, you can't YouTube tutorial your way through this shit. You've got to just try something and see what happens.
I was going to say, even the writing in that, it's a lot of with the characters. It's not just the fact that, you know, he falls in love and he's trying to get with it. There's a lot of dialogue that talks about understanding, like when they're in the club and Brody's having the conversation with her as like, you said you're going to fuck her. How does a woman fuck another woman, kind of thing? And there's a lot of understanding and things like that. And it's like Ben Affleck when after he finds out that she's gay and things like that, and he's trying to get his head around, and they're saying, you know, why women, why men? It's just, you know, that's how I feel and things like that. And the dialogue's there. It explores it so deeply, and I think that goes over a lot of people's heads because they're looking, they're sort of getting the cuts in between the comedy side of it and the deeper, sort of more meaningful side of it that builds the story is kind of going over the heads with it.
I really, that's one I really try and recommend to people over and over and over again. I think, like I said, I think the particular subject matter, the exploration of it, you're not going to see that very often. And like I said, the writing, some of the wordplay is absolutely fucking phenomenal, and the delivery. I mean, I don't need to tell people that Ben Affleck's a good actor, or at least I hope not. That Ben Affleck is a good actor, but newsflash, if you didn't know, this how good that kid is, that he's always been a good actor. Like, straight out of the box, he was just a little bit special. So we're going back to, I would say, the mid late 90s for this film, and you watch Ben Affleck in an absolute tour de force, the shit that he has to do, the emotions this character has to go through. Joey Lauren Adams, his female opposite lead as well. Fuck! It's amazing. Her sort of Joey Lauren Adams' kind of lack of career is a constant source of confusion to me.
Yeah, I was gonna when
She
you asked earlier about
how
characters
that
and cast
movie in
members.
particular, how that movie wasn't a springboard to bigger and better things. That she's not like the people Affleck, Damon, Adams. How that's not a thing, I'll
Yeah,
never know.
yeah, I know, because like when you're on about cast and characters and things that I'd like to see in more movies, or just, like even if it's just Kevin Smith movies, I would love to see Joey Lauren Adams come back and do some more films because, like you said, it's amazing how her career didn't kick off from that, and she's sort of really ever seen in anything else.
Oh, it is a truly phenomenal performance, kids. If you check it out, I mean, and as we've kind of just been touching on, I know you're not supposed to say this in this day and age, but it's not like she isn't, super hot as well, which doesn't hurt in a chosen profession,
Yeah,
Um, so like her and Affleck in that film, you've got these two fucking great looking kids. Then you've got Jason Lee with it's providing the kind of the more like street vibe with his the skater background and everything still being there. He's the alternative, the grunge kid, the comic book kid, that guy. But then you've got these two legitimate, as Ben went on to prove, legitimate Hollywood superstars with the looks and the chops to deliver the lines and have you believe wholeheartedly in these that they are real people. They're not characters. They're people. They're not. They can't be acted. It must be real.
yeah,
I can't big up that film enough. It's really, really, really good.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
I'm gonna time is getting on. Time is getting on, and batteries are getting low. But I'm just gonna but before I go, I'm just gonna pull you up on something you said earlier because I'm quite partial to a werewolf myself, and because American Werewolf in London might be a kind of boring, obvious go-to choice, but that film will never leave my top five.
Yeah,
Like if you took your top five movies or whatever, it'll change, it'll evolve. It evolves with just how you're feeling that day to a degree, but also obviously as new films are released, maybe something jumps in there that's so good. But I think it's pretty safe to say, after a number of decades of being in my top five movies, it's still there, and I'm pretty sure it's not likely to get knocked out of that anytime soon. Just not even top five horror movies or top five creature features or whatever. Just top five movies. I'm putting this fucking film up against Casablanca or Schindler's List. Or see, all the best movies are black and white. Casablanca, Schindler's List, Clerks, American Werewolf in London, not black and white. But I'd put it up there. I freaking love that film, and I like werewolves as a concept, and I feel like they never quite done the justice. I watch a ton of
no,
like I said, like that the B movie stuff that's churned out or whatever. It's remotely werewolf related. I'll probably find a rainy Wednesday to stick it on and watch it. There's not too. I feel like there's probably not that many that I haven't seen. I might not remember them straight away off the top of my head, but I tend to get round to them at some point once I'm made aware of them. Whether it's comedy, horror, something in between. And it's and I don't know. I don't really know what it is I'm wanting from a werewolf movie, but I feel like I'm still waiting to see it. If that makes any sense.
yeah, yeah. It's definitely there. I think there's. It's one of those genres where you'll find bits of what you want in different movies, and you're kind of like, right, if we can merge these ideas, then that might be the perfect werewolf movie for me. But I don't think anyone's quite got everything into one. And I mean, a lot of them, you're like, if you're a fan of classic Universal monsters, Wolfman, that had such an impact that you get sort of the same tropes over and over again. and people think this is werewolf lore, but really it was written for the Wolfman as a film.
Yeah.
There's no history behind it, so things like the pentagram and the silver bullet and everything, and the poem that you hear in almost every werewolf movie, the even a man who is pure of heart and says his prayers by night, everyone was like, that's an old English prose. I'm like, no, that was written for the Wolfman in 1941. Like, and everyone sort of translates that into every other werewolf film. But yeah, there are plenty of good werewolf films. Again, some of them you have to sort of look past the budget, but there are plenty of great ones out there, and not all of them are, you know, big sort of beastly monsters kind of thing. Some play on the werewolf trope. I mean, like Ginger Snaps is another great fucking werewolf film, and that's a big metaphor for puberty, for girls going through periods and things like that. And that's one of my absolute all-time favorite werewolf films. And then you've got a film called Wer, W-E-R, and that's a really good fucking werewolf film. But it's not like big beastly monster film. It's a hairy man basically, and not Wolfman, not full like Wolfman. He's just a hairy dude that's quite feral, and it's a really good fucking movie. So that's definitely one I'd recommend if no one's seen that one. W-E-R, it's spelled.
Yeah, he's not wrong. He's not, like we said, it's where you get the truth. Where we speak the truth here.
But also, don't forget to look at British films as well. Werewolf, two great British werewolf films. Number one is Company of Wolves from 1980s.
Yes, it is.
Neil Jordan. And then one of the absolute best werewolf movies ever made, probably one of the best horror comedies ever made, is Dog Soldiers.
Couldn't have said anything. Knew it was coming. Still wanted it to happen anyway. Yes, Dog Soldiers, which is one of those films that's either constantly on and off rumours of either like sequel or remake, and then somewhat thankfully neither happens.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those. It's just leave it alone. Sometimes just leave it alone. You want to make a werewolf movie? Make a werewolf movie. You want to make one that's awfully similar to Dog Soldiers, taking a lot of the things that happen in that and doing something very similar. You know, you don't have to franchise it. You just be inspired by it. That kind of pisses me off. There's a lot of times something or other, two or prequel or sequel, you know, or whatever, was completely unnecessary, and it's often not a bad film in and of itself, but it is a bad sequel. Like, you know, putting the two together, I find a lot of films like don't work.
Yeah,
it's not good. But if you then kind of distance yourself from that original and just then watch that other film as another film, it ain't bad. And where the problem with it is, because you shouldn't have kept that character and then putting them in this situation, and it doesn't quite work. Especially if maybe it's different writers, so they're not capturing quite the nuance of that character and the way they act or whatever. Maybe it's even a different actor playing the same character, so it's a bit too different. So it should have just been its own film, and then it would have been, you know, just like, it's a psychological thing as viewers we have to kind of get over. But I think sometimes why did it have to be, you know, franchise? Because it kind of works all right on its own. There's a lot of bad sequels, and, you know, this movie's terrible. It's like, it's not a terrible movie. It's just a terrible sequel. But it's not actually a terrible movie. I think that happens quite often.
Yeah.
So I'm going to let you go, and then he keeps talking. It's what I do. But I'm just going to bring this. I was going to say right up to date, but we're still going to go back a few years, and we're going to throw the MCU, the Werewolf by Night.
Yes.
I enjoyed the shit out of that.
Much like you said earlier, the first time I watched it, I don't think I was in the right headspace, and because I love the comics so much, I think I was one of those that went into it expecting a hell of a lot of things that weren't in it. Then I sort of gave myself some time. I didn't review it or anything because, like I said, if I don't like it, I don't review it.
Yeah.
But I went back to it, watched it again, and I was like, "This is fucking awesome! I love this." And I now have one of the werewolf pop vinyl from Werewolf by Night as well.
That's the thing. When they spoilers if you've not seen it, he's a werewolf. But they do wait till the bitter end to do the reveal, pretty much.
Yeah,
The big finale is to they reveal the wolf. And there is a wolf man in classic, like I say, Universal Monster style. A lot of people seem to not like that or be disappointed by that. And so I'm assuming now that I can talk to someone, but I wasn't the only one who was like, yes,
yeah,
I thought, yes, that's how it should be.
yeah.
That's, especially if it is just going to be a one-off kind of a thing. I was like, yes, appreciate that, respect, deep cuts, all of that.
Yeah.
I was very appreciative of the werewolf actually being that kind of werewolf when it came to pass.
Yeah, I think that's one thing people have to remember as well is it's like it's more of a TV special rather than a full movie kind of thing. It's more like a TV special kind of film. It's not meant to be, you know, this long spread out story. It's just this sort of one scene that could be part of a bigger movie. Because it's all just set in that one setting, really.
But again, I would. That's a thing that I would recommend. Again, no scores, no things or whatever, but just personal taste. You've got two people here who would definitely recommend it. I don't have Disney Plus, so I don't know if it's still on there.
I think it is because it was Disney Plus special.
But I
don't have Disney Plus myself, but I
go
know
find it
not.
if you have. But for God's sake, the one thing I will say, the one thing I will put my foot down, I will say this. I don't do it very often, but this is the thing I will say. Don't watch the color version. For the love of God. I don't know why they re-released it in color, but it was done in black and white. It was released initially in black and white. I don't know why they did that, but they did. I don't know if it helped. I don't know if it got more views when they re-released it than the first time around.
I think the whole black and white
success or not, but
yeah, I think the whole black and white was supposed to just be like the homage to, because the whole thing was supposed to be a homage to Universal monster movies. So I think the black and white was for that mostly. And
what the black and white does as well is it helped them. It's one of the most violent, gory films within the context of the MCU that you're going to get to see. And the reason they can get away with doing that slightly extra level of violence is because of black and white. There's a weird censorship rule about not seeing the red blood. Well, like a lot of horror movies, like you go back and you watch The Evil Deads, even back then, which is why the blood is black or green or fucking blue or whatever. Because red blood, obviously identified as human blood, is just like a fucking industry no-no or whatever.
Yeah,
so,
the whole elevator scene from The Shining,
yeah.
He had to turn that a different color because of censorship, and he just said, "Oh, it's just muddy water," but you can tell it's an elevator full of blood.
So watch it in black and white, because it also adds to it comes color at the end. It comes color at the end, which is very symbolic of the whole metaphor of what the whole fucking film's about. I don't understand. I've not gone back and watched the color version. I don't know. Does it get? I wonder if it gets extra color at the end. You know, what happens at the end of the color version? It all turns into a cartoon. It goes animated or something. I don't know. Anyway, thank you very much. I hope you've enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. So this is Deadknight Photography, Night with a K, like the armored heroes of yore. Check him out. Give him a like, give him a follow. You probably see something you like. So I'm back this weekend on Sunday with some special guests. We are fan casting a live action Thundercats movie. That's we're going to try not to argue. We're just going to have opinion. But that's going to be a ton of fun. So if you can join me for that, that will be Sunday afternoon, good old English time, around 4 o'clock ish. We're going to do that on Sunday. I'll spam the shit out of social media with posters after I'm done here with Connor. So thank you very much indeed. I've learnt an awful lot.
Thank you.
Talked an awful lot of shit.
It's been
I
great to talk to someone who
tried
understands.
my damnedest to break the camera so that I don't have to get involved in the Thundercats thing. So this is going to be a really weird watch back on Reels for anybody who wasn't here at the time, but it is what it is. And I'm sorry to you about that, if it would
That's all
help
right.
your promotion in any way, but I feel like I'm going to have you back. I feel like I should have you back for episode 37.
37.
If I get that far in a row, yeah, pretty much every week, hopefully. But so as I've been saying, as the sun sets slowly in the west, we'll bid you a fond farewell, kids. Peace.